even though they say, like GCs always tell us, oh, we pay in 30 days, we pay in 6 days or whatever. Well, from the moment I start work, I can't bill to the end of the month. And then you're maybe 30 days after that on a great guy. So now I'm 60 days from when I started. My cash flow is a limiting factor to my growth, and I could pick up more work, but I couldn't afford to carry it. What factoring does is I sell my receivables to a financial company. The financial company gives me 85. So as
Hmm.
soon as my invoice is approved by my client, even though they haven't paid me yet, the bank is giving me 85% of my invoice right now that I need cash flow to survive till next week. So
Hmm.
their VIG comes out of the backs, the remaining 15% when we collect from the client in 30 or 60 days. But instead, what's happened is I'm now only floating money for a couple of weeks at a time. And that was where I was talking to Josiah, where I knew I could grow faster, but to do that, my payments had to stop being 60 or 90 days in between, especially stepping into these big projects. When I had a bunch of little residential ones, it was fine. I was always getting $30,000 check. But on these bigger projects where it's like there's several $100,000 invoices, but I got to wait 90 days for them. Without the factoring, dude, I'm dead in the water.
All right. So happy to have our special Florida edition today. We have Jeb Harrison with Hardscape Concepts, one of our good friends out in Florida. And I have Josiah Meering here with the Elevated Service Group, also equally one of our good friends and one of the best in the business that I know in the south of the United States. So happy to have both you guys here today. Maybe we'll start with Josiah. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Raj. Good introduction. I mean, definitely we try to be the best anyway, but we'll try to live up to that. So, Josiah Myring started Elevated Service Group about 4 years ago. After seeing it 5 years ago now, time's been flying. After seeing a need in the marketplace, you get a lot of customers that have multiple needs for equipment service, and that created a huge problem because there was an influx of people that saw an opportunity to take advantage of people and make a pile of money doing it that didn't have any business turning wrenches. So started it out on that front, and I also started on the front of doing something affordable for a customer, and then the other part of that being taking care of technicians where they haven't been able to gain access to the environments they need at the workplaces they're at, cat dealerships, so on and so forth. Like, it's been pretty rough. A lot of guys are able to see you can reverse engineer the profit margins at a lot of these places and see that you're not really getting taken care of the way you should. So I think we tried to address that front as well. But yeah, I mean, we're down here in Florida. We're working our way up the Gulf Coast here. We're going to be working our way over to the East Coast here in the next year. We're going to be setting up a shop here in LaBelle in the spring. Then we'll have another shop going up in Ocala and one over on the East Coast. So hopefully be able to take care of Jeb a little bit quicker too.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
no, Josiah definitely gets over to me when I need it. Luckily, because I've been buying from you, Raj, I haven't had to need it too often. But no, Jeb Harrison with Hardscape Concepts, and the biggest thing for us is I worked for some big heavy civil guys, and then a couple of smaller contractors, and we started kind of back in that paver hardscape world, doing the retaining walls as well, and then we just what happened is with our business, we have, especially in Florida, there's a lot of illegals here, and it was really hard to compete in the labor market especially on the paver side. The pavers are just a wildly different place down here compared to anywhere else in the country from a price perspective, really cheap. So what we found is the retaining walls were the best for us from a margin perspective, and so we started to grow into that side. Realized I didn't really like setting those 65-pound blocks by hand personally, but I loved running the big excavator block machines, so the big like Magnum Stone or a Ready Rock. So those were the things we really excelled at. And with my heavy civil background, we kind of expanded more into the site side, as you know, Raj, just because you've been helping us source more and more machines. So the last couple of years have really just been learning how to run a business. This is year 4 for me, wrapping up year 4, heading into year 5. I feel like I'm just barely like scratching the surface of what it means to have an efficient business and an effective business. But we're just trying to grow down here in South Florida, on Palm Beach, off Palm Beach, all doing all the things, but trying not to get caught in the same rat race like all my competitors that, hey man, I need a couple of machines and now I'm down at, pick your dealership and I'm signed up with a bunch of debt on brand new stuff that's breaking anyway. So that's where we are.
Yeah, actually, that you're kind of an interesting case too because When we first started talking, you were always renting. I think you had maybe
Yeah.
one machine at the time, and then that's when
Yeah.
we put it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we had one skid steer and one mini excavator, but just a dumb mini excavator. Had no fancy attachments or anything like that at that point.
Yeah, and then we had spoken about at length about different financing options and all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's not the easiest task, but I think at that time it was a learning experience for you about getting all your docs together for getting financing and
Oh
kind of
yeah.
learning that process as well too, right?
Yeah, because the couple of machines we bought prior to was either through a dealership or a local used guy down here where there was I had a lot of time at that point, and we were able to do a significant amount down. Where this was, hey, we're stepping into the next level. What does it really take to be able to say, I'm not just buying one machine on every other year, but I'm going to be buying a machine like what did we do? We bought a machine from you 3 months ago. We're working on another one right now, so it's a velocity that when we did that first one that I had no idea, like, oh my gosh, there's so many other things that you really need to have in place if you want to be able to afford more than one machine every 3 years. That was kind of eye-opening for me.
For sure, and
Really.
that goes back to when we say dirt and dollars. That goes back to the dollars side of it. A lot of guys can run machines. They know how to. They have a decent credit. They can sign them up, but then they don't realize, what is it costing them in the back end of things, and what are their costs of actually operating it. And a lot of guys don't really. I don't know. They don't look too much into it as much as you would think. I think it's more of like they buy with what they want and not necessarily what makes economic sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of my friends and a lot of those guys down here where they're buying because they have a particular machine they like or a particular brand that they like. And not saying that you shouldn't be brand loyal or anything like that, but they get caught up in this rat race of just they got to buy the brand new one. They have to be financed to the hilt on it. And like Josiah and I have talked about several times, with his program that he has to be able to fix our machines. I mean, we're buying machines from you that are so much cheaper than a brand new machine, but they've got, several thousand hours left in a minimum that I could spend 40, 50, 60,000, $100,000 in rental costs or repair costs before I even get the price of a new machine. So, it
So
was eye-opening for me to just understand the economics of it because I really just thought you got bigger, you got to 3 or 4 machines, you go down to the big dealership and you play with the big boys and you just start signing them up.
For sure, and I think Josiah can touch on that. Like Josiah, what do you tell people that are so apprehensive? Like, oh, I got to get a machine that has warranty on it, as opposed to if I get a machine for that much cheaper, where's that sweet spot? Whereas like it's not, is it really worth the warranty or not? And then what are my options for servicing?
I like to use the where that's concerned. I like to use the. That's a really good question. I like to use the comparison of like a rental car, right?
Hmm.
You don't know how it's been taken care of when you get it used, and that plays into the new side of things. Where when you get new equipment, everybody wants to get it for the warranty. Well, you don't know who's coming out to do your warranty work either. Unfortunately, we're in a really heavy put the meat in the seat time right now. There are 450,000 job openings for heavy equipment technicians, and we're graduating 3,000 a year. And out of those 3,000, not even a third of them will stick it out after the first year. They'll make a career change. So it's really tough to answer that question in the best way. I'll tell you how I do it. Because the used parts market is rough too, right? Getting parts for used equipment is tough. Getting warranty work for new equipment is tough.
Hey,
But
not
the one thing,
necessarily. You can call us for parts, all right? We can get the parts
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot cheaper than the
absolutely,
dealership.
absolutely. Well, I mean, and it's
Yeah.
not that not. I should say the the.
Existing
That's
supply
your question.
chains or the dealership
Yeah,
model
that
of
the
buying those
existing
parts
supply
is
chain.
flawed.
You used to
It's flawed
you
like
used to
crazy.
call. Yeah, yeah. We used to call. I mean, you used to call 10, 15 years ago, and you would talk to a guy in the parts department that was a field technician for 20 years or so, and then he'd
And you know what
step
he was
back.
talking
You'd
about.
call him. Yeah, and he knew what he was talking about. You'd call him and say, "Hey, I need a head gasket kit with an upper seal kit." And he'd say, "Okay, so you need studs, nuts, bolts. You need the O rings for the injectors. You need the cup O rings, all that. And he'd have all that stuff in a cart, in a list, and he would just send it to you, and he had everything you needed. So now we're at another hard pass because now the technician has to be able to do the work, diagnose it, read the tech manual, put it back together, order the parts. Not only look the parts up, but order them. So the best thing to do, and in my opinion, is you're gonna get you'll get a warranty with brand new machinery, but you're also gonna get that exuberant price. And Raj, that's where you guys come in and you guys are disrupting the market, and I love it. That's the one thing that makes me extremely excited about what Fully Equipped is doing, right? And I get to experience some of that on another end. I mean, we just had one guy we hired from a big dealer chain around here, and their corporate HQ called and they said, "Hey, you can't promise this guy these benefits, blah, 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 blah." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well," he goes, "there's no way you can do that." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, we've got, two guys over here already that have been appreciating those benefits for the last year and a half. So tell me again why I can't give them as much as we need to, Where this plays back into your equipment getting taken care of is new equipment with a warranty. You're going to get a guy that comes out. He's going to have very minimal to low experience because the work, they're so inundated with work that they just need to get you somebody on site to take care of you, right? And then they come out there, they can't fix it, and then you end up having to call us anyways. We put a lot of focus in 4 core areas. There's engineers out there that are a lot smarter than me that went through and made a service manual for this equipment that know how to fix it. So getting the older machinery, you're gonna spend the same either way, where the maintenance is concerned. But when you get newer equipment right off the bat, you already know you're getting something that's not completely worn out. You can gauge what the maintenance cost is going to be. That's one thing about your big 3, and I call the big 3 like Caterpillar, Komatsu, and John Deere, right? They actually have a cost breakdown for what it costs per hour to run that machine. Fuel, maintenance, the conditions you're running it in, when it's going to need an undercarriage. So what it's going to cost you, right? And those are some things that when you get a used machine, nobody's ever done those cost analytics to that stuff. And they've just ran it into the ground. And now you're getting a machine that somebody was getting ready to send to auction. You go, "Hey, Joe, can you come out here and service it?" We pull the hydraulic filter apart. We cut the filter element apart, look at the media, and it's full of brass. Next thing you know, you're 40, 50 grand into just the pump, and you still need an undercarriage. So, yeah, it's tough. Personally, I buy used trucks. We've got pretty lucky. I keep the fleet alike. So, we have one engine assembly. If an engine goes out in any of them, the one engine assembly we have sitting goes in all of them. That's one thing we do to kind of
I do the same thing. So I have this kind of sweet spot where I look at even when we buy machines, and I buy them in that like 4-year range where it's like just came out of warranty. But then what I know is that, hey, it's been under warranty this whole time. So anything that's going to happen, because again, you can get a lemon that's brand new. It happens all the time. So at least it's been through warranty, and whatever's going to be needed to be replaced has been replaced. It's gone through hours. It's gone through that stuff. So to me personally, I think that's less risky than buying something brand new, even if it's under warranty. Like even when you're talking about trucks, like I know a guy that was just trying to finance an excavator, and he's had perfect credit his whole life, but then it got obliterated because he bought a truck. I won't say what dealership or whatever, a pickup truck, and all he had was nothing but problems with a lemon, to the point where he couldn't even run it. And then he tried to give it back to them. There was a problem, even though it was under warranty. They kept saying, "We'll fix it," blah blah blah. But he's like, "Just take it back. I bought a new truck." And they put on his credit bureau that it was a voluntary repossession. So it's like as if he got his car repossessed and make the payments. So because of that, brand new truck ruined his credit. So like, I've seen those kind of horror stories as well too. So buying brand new, to me, it doesn't have this, positive connotations or anything like that. So, but I get a lot of people have that.
I didn't answer your question there very well. So yeah, buying brand new equipment's never the option or never the answer. I would definitely encourage everybody to get a nice, like you said, 4-year-old is something that's just getting ready to fall out of warranty, piece of machinery, because it's made it that far. And we can take it the rest of the way from there. That's huge. The other thing to, the new machinery is, what was it? Would you say about 40, 50% or 30 or 40% you saved on your excavator, Jeb? Would that be a rough price? Yeah. Big.
No, I mean, it was 48% almost.
Yeah.
Compared to what I would have had to do brand new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And it's just, we had talks about this too, Raj. It's just like when we have equipment that is, if somebody sits here and if I take this phone and I put a pair on the back of it, it's no different than it was an iPhone 20 minutes ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the price changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing I really enjoy a lot of is that, disruption in the marketplace. And you get stories like Jeb's too, it's like, yeah, they're like, you paid what for that? Like he told me, I didn't even know what he bought it for. I was like, there's no way, dude.
Yeah.
I just did a pre-delivery on one for an outfit here, and he's telling me what he got his for. I'm like, you freaking stole this son of a bitch. Or this
It's
thing.
funny is I got a call from one of the sales guys at a cat dealership here in Canada, and he's telling me that a guy bought a 313 off him, and then he was trying to sell him a cleanup bucket. And he's like, "No, actually, can you call fully equipped machinery?" I asked him how much he sold it for, and he's like, "It was like almost 400,000 Canadian." Yeah, exactly. And I'm selling one right now that's like I think 2023 with like 600 hours. I'll sell you for like 185, I think, and I'm giving $25,000 credit with it. And he's like, "Man, like I could sell that right away." He goes, that's like dirt cheap. That's like giving it away. So, and that's from the dealership, right? But then again, like it's been sitting there for a couple months. People must be
Yeah.
suckers for punishment because that guy could have bought that one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then I think the one thing too, that's been a big driver in the market for the dealers is, so I worked for an outfit out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They had the largest fleet of Caterpillar machinery in the United States. 2017, 18, and 19, if you wanted to buy a D6N, D8T, PL87 pipe layer, 349 or 336, you actually had to buy it from Precision Pipeline because they had bought every one that wasn't even made yet. And when, we've had raging infrastructure it's been a bull market for years. And I think these dealerships are holding on to that too, where that profit margin is. And, they're thinking that nobody's going to get wise to that. Well,
I think
joke's
enough's
over.
enough. I think enough's enough.
Exactly.
I think the straw that broke the camel's back is COVID, right? Like, okay, there was a supply crunch, right? Everybody needed machines. There wasn't enough. So prices doubled. But then how come when the supply regained, proper levels, why did the machine price didn't go down? Stayed the exact same. And now with tariffs and all that, the other thing, uncertainty, they're going to add it again. Watch come springtime again, they're going to increase it again. So now it's to the point where it's just completely unaffordable. And I think that all the OEMs on the retail side are feeling that. Like, I don't think a lot of people are rushing to go buy brand new equipment.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
No. Or if
But
they are, they're huge, massive, established players, where it's the big guys that have, that have a several hundred equipment fleet versus like none of my buddies that I know that are my size are just running out to the dealership to sign up brand new stuff right now.
No,
well, that's why
absolutely
we
not.
did it, because again, those guys aren't our customers. Those big companies, they usually have a machinery guy or an equipment guy, and that guy's corrupt. He's getting kickbacks from the dealership. They go drop $10 million. He's getting Super Bowl tickets, or he's getting cash, or whatever it is on the table. So that's okay for them, and they have enough margins they can eat it, whatever it may be. But then for a small guy that's bidding against him, that's impossible. He can't go against that equipment that they're running all state of the art and all brand new stuff, and they can do this and that. So I wanted to make that attainable to them, the exact same product. So you're not sacrificing quality or anything like that. The exact same product, but a lot more affordable, so that now you can go bid on the jobs against them, and your cost of equipment is a lot lower, so that you can be more competitive and even undercut them. So I'm trying to level the playing field, right? And I think that's what's needed. Otherwise, the smaller guys are just going to keep getting run down, and I see it every day. Margins getting smaller, and especially when the economy is the way it is now, it's the smaller guys, the landscapers. They're always the first to get hurt. Guys that have civil projects or contracts, they're always able to adapt or get jobs through recessions, because the only way out of a recession is to build your way out. But landscapers, all that kind of stuff, they're the first to drop. So
what do you think?
What are you seeing, Jeb, as
speaking
of landscaping?
Yeah, after you.
Sorry, I was saying, Jeb, since you're the landscaping guy, you're still working. So tell us about what's working for you in the market right now, and how are you staying busy? Because I know you got some pretty big projects up.
Well, there's a couple of things. One is we're seeing it, especially here in Florida, right? So immigration and customs enforcement have been all over the place. And we are
Hmm.
starting to see all of our competitors lose a lot of their just cheap labor. So what we're seeing for us, because especially on the big retaining wall side, has been a lot of guys are pulling back. They can't perform on as much work as they are. So we're reaching out to a lot of their old clients and then also letting people know, like, hey, we have a new, because the big block's a new system for South Florida. They're not used to it. So it's a different world.
So the big
And
blocks
then
are
on the
those
other
big
side,
interconnecting blocks, right? Like you're talking about the ones that are prefab, and then you can kind of connect to one. Okay.
precast, which is pretty common anywhere everywhere else in the country because the pricing of the small blocks to big blocks is a lot closer. Where here there was a huge gap where the small blocks were so much cheaper. It's because our labor is so cheap. But
Hmm.
now, as a lot of these guys are getting scooped up and taken out, that price per block, price per square foot has gone up about 33% in the last 5 months. So
Oh
that's
wow.
helped us. And then the other side is now as we've gotten bigger equipment through you, because I had a background in heavy civil, we started saying, you know what, hey guys, we're going to take on full site construction projects. So we're not the guy to go build an entire subdivision necessarily. We could, I guess, but we're the, hey, we've got a small hotel site to go to over here. We need to grade out, for this commercial project, 8,000 square feet of sidewalk, asphalt, whatever it is that you might need. So we've just started to expand because now we have the equipment for it. And I mean, with that 313, I mean, we're setting storm structures and doing drainage. So it's really just allowed me to say, hey, I was this guy that did this one thing. But now because of my background in the equipment, now I can do all this other stuff without getting stuck like I was a couple of months ago with $30,000 a month rental payments
Hmm.
because we had to rent equipment to maintain the jobs.
Yeah, no, and I recognize that, and I was just saying that that's a testament to you of you actually took the risk, right? A lot of guys will get to that point and they're like, listen, like, okay, it's too difficult. I'll stick to renting. You went and put in that time. You made sure you got all your documents in order. You made sure that you were able to substantiate why you would be able to get this. And I know it wasn't easy that first time, and it never is, especially when you're going from like renting machines to buying, almost a $200,000 machine. So yeah, of course, just like when you're qualifying for a mortgage, I think we lost Josiah, but that's okay. When you're qualifying for, it's just like buying a house, right? So there is obviously due diligence and everything in it. But if you're patient enough, and I go in the dirt world, our patience level is next to zero, especially for
Right about
paperwork
there.
and all, right? So if
That's
you're
it.
so the guys aren't doing it, and I see that. Like I have a couple of guys in Hawaii even too, and they're like, man, I need a cosigner, I need this, and forget it, I'll just keep renting and stuff. To me, that makes no sense. That's just like you're giving away
No.
money. Even if you even like, and if you crunch the numbers, and I know other guys that'll tell you the same thing, the finance guys, if you crunch the numbers, even if you're subprime, you have crap credit, and you're paying like 20%, you're still cheaper than renting. So even if you have to do
Well,
that to
yeah.
fix your credit, and you're going to be running the machine and making money, that's a win. So take that, even if it's subprime, take it, go prove it, make money, and then fix it, right?
I'm living proof of it because, like with us, it was our first big step up for that size machine. So, from a bank perspective, they have a fairly high interest rate on it. But even still, I'm $3,000 a month less by paying my note on that machine than I was renting that machine 60 days ago.
And you
So,
went to have
I mean,
TopCon and Great Assist and auto control and all that stuff.
yeah, I mean, that machine's smarter than I am. Not that that's that hard to do, but it is.
We were talking about it actually in the last episode about the autos, and
Okay.
I'm like, Jeb's faster.
I'm pretty sure, like what we've done is we've turned it more into an indicate system, except for a couple of specialty things. Because to be honest, it's too slow for me. It irritates the shit out of me.
For sure, it's gonna always be too slow.
I like knowing where it is, but I want to. I'm like, I can go faster than this. Let me, Caterpillar, give it back to me. I got this.
Yeah, I think over time that there'll be a fix for that. But as far as like we're talking about GPS, TopCon, name so on and so forth, grade control systems. Um, we're still pretty fresh into those systems coming out, right? And with
Hmm.
with AI taking its roots the way it is, you're going to see a lot of those things change. We always said, that AI can't feel the seat and this, that, and the other thing, but you start integrating laser along with this stuff. I mean, I've got a vacuum mop that cleans my house twice a day, and it bounces,
I got one too.
yeah, it bounces laser off the wall.
I got one upstairs and downstairs. I'm like, I don't ever
No,
vacuum.
I'm not gonna. That's not. I haven't touched a vacuum in forever. Other than I pull the furniture and get stuff behind it every now and then. But it's like, man,
Yeah.
that's just so. I think of it like that. You're gonna have four-wheeled little robots that can hold a grade stick along your job, and that excavator is gonna be able to sit there, and they're gonna be able to talk to each other, and it's gonna be able to tell it to go out, and it's gonna be able to shoot grade off that. And we're right there. It's only a matter.
So, segue from there. So, speaking of technology, um, Jeb, at the same time, you adopted a tilt rotator. So, how's that been for you? As technology not as crazy as the autos, but something I think is valuable. How's that been for you now with getting some hours on it?
Well, the first about 10 hours, not great. The first 10 hours, you look like an idiot, right? It's like you've never been on a machine before again. And because your brain is breaking basically, because you realize that I can now dig backwards and to the side. But honestly, now being about 150 hours in onto this thing and beating the crap out of it, I would tell you if you don't have a tilt rotator, at least one in your fleet, you are missing out. Like just what we did the other day on a footer that we had to prep work because of it had washed out or whatever, and we couldn't get other access. I was digging backwards. I was cleaning up ahead of the guys, digging backwards with the tilt rotator, chucking dirt everywhere, and it was one of those things where I look back and I realized if my guys had to do that by hand, which was the way we would have normally had to do it, we'd have been here for another 8-10 hours just on a single day. Where I'm looking at it going, this tilt rotator, like I'm already on to the next. I'm working on the next wall. So
Mm,
it took me a long time to make that jump, right? Because I mean, there's only really three big guys that make tilt rotators across the globe, and none of them have really penetrated the American market super well, and they're really
too
expensive. What they
expensive.
are is that, yeah, until you had come out with it, and I messaged you on Instagram, and I was like, dude, I know you don't have any in the States, but I want to buy one right now for your pricing that you had. It was the confidence I needed to be able to have it. Now that I have it, I'm like, dude, that tow rotator is worth two guys on a crew. And the
For
guys
sure.
like it because they're not dying every day because it's hot down here. It's not Canada, man. This place, like it's 98 degrees and 100% humidity.
We
And
were there in the summer. I know it was hot.
yeah, oh,
It
yeah,
was
when you came down, like it was trying to melt you
Yeah.
away.
for
Yep.
sure.
Definitely.
And Josiah, you used to install a lot of tilt rotators as well, too,
Yeah.
right?
So that was the one big thing to touch on there. So you know the tilt rotator was really made its history over in Europe. Europe's really funny where equipment operators are concerned because a guy will graduate high school and he'll go learn how to run that one piece of machinery, and he'll get a brand new piece of equipment with a tilt rotator on it or something similar to that, whether he's running a dozer, you name it, and he'll run that piece of machinery his entire career. And over here in the United States, you get one guy hop in that skid steer, hop in that dozer. After you get done with that, go hop in the excavator. So I think the adaptability where tilt rotator, not I think, when we actually get tilt rotators more heavily into the market, I mean, nobody is going to be able to get into any kind of ground penetrating work without having one. They're on 8% of all the equipment in the United States. They're on 97% of all equipment in Europe. And with that being said, several of your railroad contractors, you can't even go bid a job to do any work for them unless you have a tilt rotator in your fleet on the job, just because of the
Hmm.
efficiency of them, right? They're worth their weight in gold. Unfortunately, some of the big names, which we'll leave out, don't have the technical support. When we get into
Hmm.
installing these tilt rotators, that brings in what I like to call our core five, which is you have to be able to weld if you're going to be welding blocks on for your turnaround blocks, things like that, or all your pick points along the boom. You have to be able to call in hydraulic hoses. I mean, we've got a list right here. You need to be able to sit here and you need to be able to call all these numbers in over the phone. So if you're out on a remote job somewhere, if you call and say, hey, we've got one in the middle of BFE up in Canada somewhere, I know that in order to do that job, I need to bring, my 10 millimeter wrenches. You make a tool list, you make those things up, and you have to be able to understand how hydraulic systems work. What's that pump flow at? What's the pressure? Are we creating any instances where we're going to increase the velocity in the line and create turbulence? So it requires a very
Mm-hmm.
wide set of skills to actually install one of them and do a really good job at it. And, for that, a lot of the competition, they just figure it out, get it on there, get it done, and it's very unfortunate because I still have customer, even actually, what's today? Thursday. Monday, I got a call from a guy we did one for in Ohio, and he said, "Hey man, I can't get anybody out here. I've been waiting 3.5 months for service. Can you please
Mm-hmm.
fly up here?" And it's like, golly, man, what's it going to come down to? So yeah, I mean, we're
I hear that a lot.
yeah,
Those kind of stories. I know that there's one or two that actually is really good on the service side, and then there's the other ones that fall off. I'm really cognizant of that, and that's why I've been kind of slow pushing the sales in general of it, because I want to make sure I perfect the integrations, and that's the hardest part. Every excavator, every brand is so different. Their electronic systems work so different. Sometimes you need to emulate it. Then if you're doing an older excavator, sometimes you bypass electrical and we put in a different valve. There's lots of different ways. So in order to get it to that point where you're confident that you can service it right, and you can and it's going to integrate well, and it's not easy. So like
trial and
anybody who
error
wants to try to bring a tilt rotator to market, good luck. We went through a lot of trials and
for
tribulations to
sure.
get to that far, but and it's still, we're learning every day. And it's because we work in the field with guys like you. And you've referred me some really good people. Shout out to that person who I won't mention. But it's because I talk to you guys all the time and I get all that feedback. So whatever feedback you guys give me, I work on it, and I'll work with the engineers. I'll work on those emulations, whatever it makes that experience, that much easier. There's others, like I know, even if you talk to installers, like our system is very easy, and it's done that on purpose. Like we've done it, made it very simple, so that it's kind of elegantly simple, so there's less stuff that can go wrong. Like when you're talking other systems with like all these wiring harnesses and all the other stuff that needs to go into it, it's overly complicated. Like even now when we're developing our own 3D grade control system, and if you look at like even on Jeb's that TopCon system, it's not actually not that that's not as complicated, but it has a big harness in the back, and it is extra wiring going to that harness and all that stuff. But the system we're developing, it just literally goes the sensors along the boom, and then your rear your rear whatever. I think there's sensors too. The stuff that goes on the back of your
Yeah.
excavator, they all link in, and then it goes straight into the touch screen, and everything runs from that. So literally it's just cables to that, no other harnesses, right into that touchscreen that just goes to power, and then there's your whole system. So I'm a strong believer in those, keeping it simple systems, but they're not necessarily applicable for everybody else's. And that's why we've been doing a lot of that stuff and making those systems, because when you look at TopCon, Trimble, it's just like overly engineered, but then that's how they substantiate such a ridiculous price, right?
Right. Right. And, I think that's one of the biggest things too. And you talk about multiple brands, because I mean, we have some systems that run pulse width modulation, and that's a different kind of signal. And then you have systems that run CAN, and then we get different CAN frequencies, and that's where the emulation comes into
Mm-hmm.
play, right? But, and those are
Mm-hmm.
all things that, once you get that map kind of figured out, they'll change it. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
They will.
Yeah. I'm like, then it's good. No, until they
Yeah,
change it. Yeah.
you'll have a stock of 300 kits sitting there for a certain piece of equipment, and then it'll be like, oh, by the way, we're switching this over to a multi-can network, and it's like, oh my goodness. So, there's definitely battles there. I think it's kind of trying to find like a happy medium to something that has
Mm-hmm.
multiple adaptability to be able to help out with a lot of those things, So,
Yeah, actually, one thing I wanted to talk to you about too is some of the stuff you see when you're talking about the used parts now,
yeah,
like undercarriages and kind of some of the scams, and not scams. Well, yeah, they're scams. And we and you talked about this one before, because I bring it up because it's kind of come up lately, and that's undercarriages. And it was one of our customers, actually. He gave me a shout last week, and he's like, "Hey, I just got an undercarriage for my dozer." And he goes, "I bought it from the dealership, but they gave me 25% off assembly." And I'm like, that's the biggest lie in that whole thing. And I don't know why dealerships even still do this to this days. They do not assemble those undercarriages. Those
no,
undercarriages are made overseas, and they come pre-assembled.
yeah,
So
yeah.
why do they still charge assembly?
Well, I guess that one big thing, and I don't even do anything dealer part anymore. Everything we do now is all ITR. like ITR, they're great. They're for the aftermarket. You know, what it comes down
But
to,
where are they made? Are they made in the United States?
you probably know better than I do, honestly. I don't think so. You know, definitely not. I've never gotten an ITR box that hasn't said fumigated on the side of it. You know what I mean? So that's usually a pretty telltale sign there.
Okay, usually the dead giveaway in the industry is whenever there's the word America in the name
Yeah,
or anything like that.
yeah.
It's made in the opposite.
That was like, what was it, back in the 80s? They made it. There was a town called USA, Japan. It was just USA, Japan, and people were made in USA, and I mean, that seriously, that ran. I think they were doing that until I think it was like 2004. They said, "Oh, we're not doing that game anymore." But yeah,
Well, look at the
yeah,
whole
I'm not sure.
made in something. Nothing in the machinery says made in anywhere anymore. It says assembled in blah 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 with foreign and domestic parts,
That's it.
which means like everything in this thing is made in China. We assembled it here to avoid tariffs a little bit, and we've stamped it with this. We can't say made in because we'll get sued by the Commerce Department. Like Kubota just paid a $2 billion fine, whatever, a couple of years ago. So here it is.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
They did. This is all public information. It's just that us in the dirt world and everybody. It's like we're oblivious to actually how those corporations are run and all the stuff that they're doing.
Well,
We don't
you
pay
know,
attention to it.
yeah,
well, the other side too is like anybody that's grown up in this, right? We have this nostalgic view of what our dealerships and right, like I remember growing up
We
and
put them
going
on
to
a
the
pedestal,
ranch.
right? Like the cat dealer,
Yeah, like,
John
I
Deere
remember growing
dealer.
up to
Yeah,
going to the ranch and like my granddad had a, sticker on the back of his truck. If it ain't a cat, it's a dog. And, like there was just this like nostalgic feel, but they're not the same the way they were. And so now you go to it, and especially being a smaller guy, you go to the big dealerships, good luck. If they get you a quote, if they get you a quote, it's going to be retardedly expensive.
for
That's
sure.
assuming they get you a quote.
I don't think anybody's gone to any dealership and said like, "Oh, that was a reasonable price on anything brand new." Period.
No,
Not
not
today.
anytime soon. But like I said, I think it's a holdover. And then our industry's always, there's some things I think we adapted really well. And then I think there's other things that we really just don't. I look at some of my guys, some of my friends that are in this world, and yeah, they take Trimble, they take GPS, but you go talk to them, you go look at their systems, they'll be running an entire dirt company with a pad of sticky notes that are basically going everywhere in their truck. Right. So there's so many things. I think we just, I think we're one of the first industries to get all this cool stuff, but also one of the last industries to really adopt it.
For sure.
As you say that, I'm
100%.
sitting here with my phone, with my notepad out, and my notepad with my pen on it. So it's really funny that you talk about
Okay,
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I still have, my daily to-do list, for sure that I couldn't live without. But I just mean, where you look at all the new technology that's coming out that we could be better with,
Mhm.
and that like our industry,
Well,
so
look
often
at
it's,
infrastructure, man. Like
yeah,
infrastructure. Look at all the places, third world countries that have bullet trains and such good infrastructure systems, which we could have. But why don't we have it?
not
I
enough
don't
tail
know. We
rotators,
have a
Raj. That's
culture.
the
we don't
problem.
have enough tilt rotators.
We just have a culture of not accepting change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we have so much bureaucracy to make change. So we're always behind. It's just a fact,
You
right?
know, that's one other big thing here too. And then I there's I think we talked about this before, Raj. Like you go over to Europe, and they have their operators over there carry a can of touch up paint. You know what I mean? And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
they take their shoes off before they get in the cab, and you get over here and these guys freaking wipe the grease gun
Dude,
off them.
they don't take care of
No,
nothing. Like
Dude.
even my guys that work for us, like I have a contracting company, and my guys don't take care of shit. And then not only that, like the Japanese, same way. Like I buy so much equipment from Japan. They meticulously, like that stuff has been greased every single time. It's been babied. And they're all like that. It's not like one off or there's no slob there who let his machine go, not a single one. But then when you're shopping for used equipment here, it's like, especially even rental equipment, like came back from rental, good luck, man. That stuff's just bagged. And
oh, yeah.
everywhere else in the
Well,
world, they take care of it.
I was just on the phone with one of my good friends tonight. We're talking about that other machine that I'm getting from Ron, that I'm getting from you, Raj, right
Hmm.
now. And he goes, "Is it a Canadian machine?" I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Oh, that's good because at least they take care of their stuff better than at least we do here, like the hillbillies around us." And I was laughing because he's not wrong, or even, I know you say they don't take care of them out there, but even compared to us down here, it's like they take so much better because, like, dude, the number of machines that I've gotten into that I wouldn't put, I wouldn't make a dog live in
No,
it. That just disgusting, trash and dirt everywhere and 14 Mountain Dew cans. You're just like, what are you doing? But
we
I
could
don't know.
with that.
No, it's 100% true. We do not take care of our machines here, and everywhere in the rest of the world. So you're talking about Europe. There's a guy that I just reposted as a ZX350. He's got hardwood flooring in it and white interior.
I
You
saw
won't have
that.
that.
No,
You won't have that here because again, everybody's got to get out. You got to keep your boots on because you're not running a tilt rotator, and you got to get out of the machine and do stuff all the time.
right.
So you're not going to be, with your white socks like they are. And then the after maintenance, it's always a pass the buck attitude. Like, it's not my machine, so
Right.
forget about it. And there are the guys, don't get me wrong, that take care of their machine. Like, Sheldon, he's religious about, meticulous about his care machine, but people like him are few and far between. So when you're shopping for used machinery in North America, it's definitely the minority to have a machine that was very well taken care of, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Well, and you have to change culture with it, right? Like getting the tilt rotator. Guys, this thing, it cannot go a single day without being greased. And, just trying to do the little things. Like I stopped tonight and I grabbed, Windex and some paper towels because I'm like, man, if I don't put these things in the machines and start requiring it every day, like I'm going to get in the machine like I did today and go, damn, I can't see out my windshield. How do the guys work like this? It just
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
For sure.
The one.
And then we talked.
Go ahead. After
Sorry, go ahead.
you, Rush.
No. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna that's it. That's just the cleanliness, things like that. There's really no way I found to really cultivate that. As far as like, obviously we try to do a really good job with our fleet at taking care of the equipment and stuff like that. Just because I think how would I want somebody to show up for me? And I try to adapt that same thing, but it's how do you get other people to see that? That's we have a couple different incentives that for the cleanliness. It's like back in the day, I remember working at working at the dealership when I was a young kid, and if you didn't clean it, you just got fired. Well, there's so many jobs now. It's like, okay, cool, I'll take a week off. You know what I mean? And nobody cares anymore. It's so tough.
I know we talked a little bit about we talked more about the dirt side today, but something that I wanted to bring up today, and you guys were just talking about it too, is factoring. On the business side of things, when you need to get paid from invoices, but you're getting on terms, and can you guys explain that a little bit? I know what factoring is, but I want you guys to explain to people who are listening because I think a lot that's more from a banking perspective. That's more prevalent in industries like trucking and other industries, but you don't see it as much with contractors. But you guys have been effectively, people who've been effectively using it. You know people that are actually do it for them. And Jeb, you've been using it. Can you explain to everybody how that works and how it's been effective for you?
Yeah, so I actually got to the right factoring guy through Josiah because we were uh, sitting on the job probably a month ago, and or 2 months ago, and we're just going through like the struggles, right? As a younger company, we didn't have, neither one of us had a big private equity backer behind us, so we're like, how do you grow, right? How, especially in our world where even though they say like GCs always tell us, oh, we pay in 30 days, we pay in 6 days or whatever. Well, from the moment I start work, I can't bill to the end of the month, and then you're maybe 30 days after that on a great guy. So now I'm 60 days from when I started. My cash flow was a limiting factor to my growth, and I could pick up more work, but I couldn't afford to carry it. So what factoring does is I sell my receivables to a financial company. The financial company gives me 85%. It's kind of about the typical that I've seen, 85% of my sold invoice to me as soon as I submit it to them. So as soon as my invoice is approved by my client, even though they haven't paid me yet, the bank is giving me 85% of my invoice right now that I need cash flow to survive till next week. So their VIG comes out of the backs, the remaining 15% when we collect from the client in 30 or 60 days. But instead, what's happened is I'm now only floating money for a couple of weeks at a time. And that was where I was talking to Josiah, where I knew I could grow faster, but to do that, my payments had to stop being 60 or 90 days in between, especially stepping into these big projects. When I had a bunch of little residential ones, it was fine. I was always getting 5, 10, 20, $30,000 check. But on these bigger projects where it's like there's several $100,000 invoices, but I got to wait 90 days for them. Without the factoring, dude, I'm dead in the water. So what
No,
factoring does is it allows me to get my cash now to keep my business going.
Right.
for sure, and I think that I touched on, I think, one of the first episodes we did when I was doing with Ken, and that's it. Like commercial projects, that's my bread and butter. I know that space really well. It's all like the contractors are pretty much the line of credit, right? They got to go and show the progress in order for the bank to release the money, and developers, they're not going to be out of pocket before the bank gives the money, so they're going to say, hey, when you're done this, then let us know, and the bank will release the money. So you're footing it. So, in an ideal world, you have a line of credit, but getting to a line of credit is not always easy. So again, building credit, just like when you're getting
No,
financing. So factoring is that
Yeah.
bridge, right?
it, it's and so speaking of a line of credit, I've been trying to get a line of credit this year. That was one of the frustrations that I was talking about with Josiah, for him to say, hey, you need to talk to my factoring guy. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I went into the bank, right, we've banked for the same bank. I've run millions of dollars to this account. Go in there. The first thing, all they did was pull my personal credit. They didn't
Yeah.
even look at my business financials. They didn't look at my 3 years of returns that I prepared or all this other stuff. They're like, hey, we'd like it to be about 15 points higher. I'm like, not even a $5,000 line of credit to start building it. Like, nope, sorry, I can't offer anything at this time. And so you're looking at it going, well, how am I supposed to grow?
You got to start somewhere, right? I know, but then they're not going to give it to you like that. So that's why
No.
factoring is such a useful thing. And a lot of contractors don't know about it. They think, oh, well, I can get a credit card and maybe a little line of credit, and that's about it. And remember, like for a contractor to get a line of credit is probably one of the
Oh, yeah.
hardest. And from the banking perspective, the reason is all your receivables are potentially lienable,
Mhm.
right? So because of that, they're not as solid as receivables from other companies. So they always take the contractor with a grain of salt. And so just so people know, when you are qualifying for a line of credit as a contractor, generally speaking, 10 to 15% of your top line, that's what they can give you. And they don't really look at the receivables as much because of the fact that they can be lean.
Assuming they even get to the point of looking at your financials. And that's been an eye-opening thing. But
Yeah,
Josiah can talk
that's
more about,
sorry, good.
I was going to say, Josiah can talk way more about how factoring has helped him to grow
Well,
and what I'm hoping it'll do for
I
me.
think
And you don't hear it again. We're talking about contractors. You don't hear it on mechanic side. So I want to hear what
you really
Josiah
don't.
has to say
And
about that, because I'm sure this
you
guy's
had
out there.
said it there. Like I had heard the word factoring with the trucking side of things, right? And it's like it was always a
Mm-hmm.
dirty word when you brought it up, and a lot of guys don't do it because they let their ego get in the way of it, I think. And there's this book. It's everybody should read. It's "Ego is the Enemy" by Ryan Holiday. I love that book. I read that thing once a quarter.
Your ego is not your
Yeah,
amigo.
that's exactly right. And
No.
so the one thing for me was sitting here and and I'll put his name out there just because he doesn't I don't get a dime from him, but he's done such a freaking amazing job for me and bent over backwards for me. And so we'll have to get John Federa on here to go over the story about our first interaction with each other, because I slammed the phone down on him as soon as I heard his accent. Like, I'm done with this guy. I had dealt with a bunch of New York bankers before and some MCAs and things to try to get going. And, I was just done with it. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
John
I get
Federa
it.
Integrated is the one that got me hooked up with the factoring, and integrated business finance has really changed the direction of Elevated significantly. Even in the first the first year, we just we're 4x what we were doing, and that's strictly because gaining access to cash flow to be able to go, to be able to grow, and to be able to get the things you need. And on the contractor side, it's similar. We do it kind of the same way. If we get a rebuild project or something like that on a big piece of machinery, we tell the customer, hey, it's going to be 200 grand or whatever, 300 grand to rehose your freaking machine, whatever ends up coming out to be. They're like, oh, well, that kind of is a bummer for them right off the bat, right? Because they have to put the money out, or you have to put the money out. Even the dealerships will be like, well, we need 80% up front. Well, the front we come into is I'm able to sit here and look at somebody and say, hey, listen, this is what it's going to be. I can give you 90 days to pay it, and it's only going to cost you 2%. Where are you going to go get that loan at? You know what I mean? Nowhere.
Not at this
Yeah,
economy.
not this.
Not at that interest
So
rate.
they'll sit there and every day absolutely. Every one of my customers, darn near, we've got on it now, just because they hear about it. Is it an extra step? Yeah, it's an extra step. But the upside to it is huge. It's great for your customer. It's great for you. It increases the cash flow, and it's 2%. So we bill that back over to them. They take care of it, and it just, it helps everybody involved. I can't say enough good things about it. There's a lot of companies out there that, people are scared to go do work for, because they don't have that tool in place. You know what I mean? And it's definitely a tool people need to not be scared of. They just need to jump on the bandwagon with it, start after it. There's a lot of good outfits I see that could benefit from that kind of creative financing. I can't believe I'm sitting here telling you about this, because normally that's like I keep that in my tool belt, but if it helps everybody, I'm happy to do it. It's just factoring it.
No, I think it's a great point, and that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is to give this kind of value to contractors.
Yeah, you have to. You got to give
nobody
value
explains
to
this
people
stuff.
in that aspect.
And when I heard that you guys were doing it, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. Because again, this is something I used to hear from the transportation industry.
Yeah. Well, and then I guess it gets a bad rap in the transportation industry, strictly because that's an industry where if I drop a load off in Kansas City, and the guy that is in Kansas City doesn't pay his bill, you're less likely to go drive back up to Kansas City to confront him than you are, if the guy's right around the corner. Trucking has gotten, I think it's going to go a different direction, especially with the new standards that have been set in place, and the deportation, and the language barrier policies and stuff like that. I definitely think we're going to see freight go in a more positive direction. It's going to take some time. It's not the flip of a switch for sure.
Yeah, but even that aside, the trucking industry has been decimated now in the last year and a half. Every single trucking company's in receivership or something or another. I was like, it's bad. So I think that's going to make a correction, and there's a lot of them going to be weeded out.
For sure. Yep.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think some of them too are going to have their prices come up. Like we look here in Florida, and sometimes our trucking is really cheap, right? Which has been great for a long time. But I think there's going to have to be a piece where the price increases, at least on the trucking side, to meet to actually put the right guys in the seats. Because right now, some of the truckers, I mean, as Josiah and I were messaging last night about, I had a guy show up to a construction site in a freaking semi and get out wearing Crocs, delivering, getting his thing stuck 3 times. And you're looking around going, is this the best we can send? For another, I would spend so much more money to not have that ever happen again,
I was not texting and driving when I was watching that video, and I about had to pull over. Brian, it was so bad. Oh yeah,
dude, I was so mad.
That's another thing. I think about that when I was a kid. The truck driver got out with a freaking high vis vest on, work boots, and a freaking strap bar. You know what I mean? That was the image of what a truck driver was as a kid. Now you see them get out, and they're just look like they've showered in 4 days. They're wearing Gucci. They've got a bag.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my goodness.
I had another guy deliver today. Got out of his thing wearing white socks and slides, and I was just like, what are you doing? But and it kind of goes back to my uncle always said he knew it was time to sell his GC firm, because they did a lot of self-perform work back in the day. When he said when guys stopped showing up to job sites wearing collared shirts with names on them, he said when the industry started to change like that, that was the moment he knew. And I think that we're going to have to bring back a piece of that culture. I think if we want construction and blue collar to be viewed like the way they do in Europe, where it's a real career and not just this thing where your derelicts, are let out into the fields, and it's like, well, the guy running the excavator only got 4 felonies. He's a solid dude though, but it's a real place where people can go as a career.
Yeah, and that comes back with standards and the workload, right? So,
well, I think on that note is where we can leave it for today. But it was awesome to talk to you guys. I appreciate you guys coming and joining us today, man. It was awesome conversation. It's the first time we've done it with 3 people too, so hopefully it comes out all right.
Awesome. That'd be perfect.
I'm excited to see it.
Me too.
Well, both you guys want to plug your Instagrams and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeb, go ahead.
Yeah, we're Harcon Florida, or Harcon FL on Instagram. You'll find me over there ranting and raving about truckers and job site problems, and trying to show some poorly edited videos of what we do. But love to have everybody connect with me, message me. We try to get back to everybody as soon as we can. So thanks for having us on, Raj.
Perfect. Yep. And then all of ours is my Instagram is Josiah Myring, and then Elevated Service Group. We're on TikTok and Snapchat. That's Big Iron Doctor on both of those platforms. So feel free to follow us over there. We're always, trying to ruffle feathers and things like that. We definitely have a good a good group of people around those. So definitely trying to make some waves in the market. We're on there doing diagnostic videos and trying to bring some awareness to the training that needs to happen. So
for sure, and you'll see us reposting and making some content. And I think this year, after the new year too, I'm gonna be down in Florida a lot more, and we're gonna make some more. Really look forward to working with you guys. Love you guys, and appreciate you guys being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Raj.
Let's do it
Yeah,
again.
let's do it.
Anytime. And there she is.